Grandpa Joe saw something floating in the sea, so he ran to check and found an injured penguin. He immediately wrapped the small, oily creature in a towel and took it home. Once back at the house, he placed the little penguin in a spot where sunlight shone through, then took a plate of small fish from the fridge and fed them to the penguin one by one. After the penguin began to recover, he softened its hardened feathers with olive oil. Then he used a small brush to clean off the oil stains. The penguin seemed to understand it was being cared for. As the small brush moved across its body, the penguin stared at the old man in front of it without blinking. Not long after, his wife came home from shopping and heard a noise coming from the bathroom. Eventually, Grandpa Joe had to open the door, and a small penguin appeared in front of his wife. When she asked about it, Grandpa Joe closed the door and explained that the penguin was covered in oil and would have died if it hadn't been rescued. The weather on Grande Island was unpredictable, and soon a drizzle began to fall. Grandpa Joe worried the little one would get cold, so he took his late son's wool hat and cut it with scissors to make a simple warm outfit. After putting on the new clothes, the little penguin waddled around the house, turning and pacing back and forth. A few days later, the penguin grew fat and strong, and its once damaged feathers had become shiny and smooth. Although Grandpa Joe was very reluctant, it was time to return the penguin to the sea. On the beach, a girl was amazed by the cute penguin. She named it Ding Ding right then and there. From that day on, Grandpa Joe called the penguin Ding Ding. Joe rowed his boat to a small island while chatting with Ding Ding. When they arrived, Grandpa Joe placed Ding Ding on the beach, tried to say goodbye, then turned and got ready to leave. Ding Ding waddled after him, shaking his little bottom as if he didn't want to be left behind. But Grandpa Joe thought Ding Ding needed to return to his natural habitat. Unexpectedly, the next morning, Grandpa Joe's wife found Ding Ding back again. He had climbed the stairs as if he belonged there, walked into the house like he knew it, and approached Grandpa Joe with slow, familiar steps. This surprised him greatly. He opened the fridge, took out the little fish, and fed them to Ding Ding. Grandpa Joe, who hadn't spoken in years, now enthusiastically told his friends about his meeting with Ding Ding. The silence and indifference of the past were gone. After returning home, Grandpa Joe began building a nest for Ding Ding. To his surprise, Ding Ding imitated the rhythm of his hammering, and the sound of the hammer echoed like a melody of life. It touched Grandpa Joe's heart. The love in his eyes filled the whole scene. When the nest was finished, Ding Ding went inside, looked around as if to say, "This is great," and then began collecting decorations to beautify his nest.